let's touch on that a little bit more. Actually, the application and the resume. I imagine you're seeing a lot of resumes and having to sort through a pile. So, what is a strong application, and what's moving a candidate from a yes to a maybe to a no, or vice versa, good and bad? What are some things that students can make sure to do and make sure to avoid on their resume and online applications?
I think the biggest thing that you can do when you're putting together, well, first of all, I think you need to have multiple resumes. At this point, not really that generic resume is not going to get you through. So if you have a company that you're looking at, look at the job description. Those are our requirements. If you don't have that experience, or if you don't have that area or those skills, we're not going to be able to, no matter, you might be a great person, but unfortunately, when we look at that application, we're not going to be able to call you in for an interview because you don't have that. So when you do complete that application, make sure that you fill out all the information that would be relevant to that job description and those skills that they're looking for, because that's going to allow you to get your foot into the door a little bit more.
I would say, as far as a resume, the biggest thing I see sometimes is spelling errors. And so really importantly, spell check. Sometimes it's a good example of showing your writing skills, and as Wanda said, make it specific, to those if you have them. If you have those skills and qualifications, make sure that you are in some way pointing that out so that we can see that in the resume to give a call back.
And I think it's also, when you're putting together your resume, don't just do a job description as far as what you did with that job, but highlight your performance. If you were, we look at a lot of individuals that have serving experience, put down how you increase profits, or a certain percentage, or how you were picked as an MVP for the month of August. Those are some things that jump out at us, rather than saying I served customers or dealt with difficult customers. Really highlight your accomplishments within that role.
And I would say one of the questions is how long do we take to look at a resume, and I would say it's probably a minute, if that, minute or two, and just getting to one about the requirements is our first cut will be the pile of resumes and then the job description, and we'll look at the absolute requirements like 4-year degree or this and this and this, and if they don't have that, some of them are flexible, but chances are some of them are not. So if it says requires a degree and the person doesn't have it, those will just get weeded out right away. And I would add the nonprofit sector is a little different because, again, oftentimes will require a cover letter, but I think, just in terms of the accomplishments, highlighting those accomplishments, in specific experiences, and how does that relate to the job, different tasks and requirements of the job. So if the task and the requirement of the job is, must communicate well. Well, I, was able to do this in a team setting, and I was able to, whatever shows that you communicate well. I wrote a newsletter, I, did this. So show how your experience matches up with the different requirements of the job.
What do you think of cover letters? Is that a reading out thing, or?
We were just talking about that. For bigger corporations, we don't necessarily even look at them. A lot of times they're a little bit too generic anyways. We'll just glance more at the resume to see what's much more relevant. But I think in your sector,
you have to make a case. So we and some nonprofits might not do them, but I think they're more common. Just because we want to know, why does somebody want to work for this organization, and you should make your case about your passion for the issues, your experience, the fit, how you might contribute something. And so for us, the resume tells a story about not only your experience, but your interest in working for the organization. And I don't know, I think it's just more common to the
for C.H. Robinson, as far as making a case for yourself and showing your writing abilities, we look for that more in the follow-up. After the interview, after you've gone in and seen what you have actually shadowed some employees, and you see what the position is and the environment, then it's bringing back to us, what specifically can you bring that is going to help benefit C.H. Robinson? And so it's making a case in the follow-up and showing your writing abilities there. So that's why we don't focus heavily on the cover letter up front. We like to see and in some sense, we do sales. So it's another way to show how are your selling techniques and how are you going to sell yourself to us, and how that could possibly incorporate into the job itself when working with a customer and a carrier. So think about that as well as the job that you're applying for.
And back to cover letters, just to clarify, a candidate would never be put into a no pile because they did a cover letter. It just means you might not look at it. So we can see here that it kind of varies between organizations. So if you don't know, maybe it's better to just lean on the side that I've heard other employers use them as writing samples. So, think about that too. It's a way to show your writing skill and ability. So.
I mean, if you have it, that's fine.
Right.
But we're probably not going to look at it.
Right.
But it's not going to. It's not going to. It's not going to make anyone.
Mhm.
It's not going to allow us to say no. We're not
And
gonna
it just shows the different perspectives across industry, organization, and really doing your research. Are you applying to a nonprofit where you know that this is something, an important piece of the application? If it says cover letter on the application instructions, you want to make sure to have that. So it goes back to just doing your research too on what you're applying for. Are there other questions at this point, or? Sure.
I just have a question about, I guess, where to apply. Like, obviously it's all online these days, but so many times I do it on Career Builder and I'm just like, it's a complete waste of time, I mean, does it make a difference if I apply like on your website or?
I would go directly to the company's website. Sometimes I don't think when you go through, like I have a friend that's actually looking for a job and he's applied a couple times through Career Builder and I don't think that those companies are actually even getting his resume. So I would go directly to the company and then at that point you can also see, all the jobs that that company is hiring for and then you can see which one matches your skill set better.
Well, and you can also do some research on the company and research to say, oh, I like the job description, but reading about the company, I'm not so sure, or yes, I'm even more excited. So I always want to say go directly to that website.